When you're sick, you don't want to wait in a doctor's office. Skip the waiting room with waitfromhome.com. Brought to you by UMC Physician Network Services. Check into the clinic online or on your phone, and we'll call or text when your doctor's ready. Your comfort is important. Waitfromhome.com.
Welcome everybody to the UMC Health System Avalanche-Journal Pregame Show. I'm Nick Kosmider along with Don Williams. Zach Long will join us shortly. We're here live from Bobcat Stadium where the Red Raiders will face the Texas State Bobcats tomorrow at 6 p.m. And Don, we just got here, haven't been here too long, but what do you kind of think of this atmosphere so far?
I'm impressed. I mean, for a program that was a formerly Division I AA football championship subdivision team, they've upgraded the size of the stadium, and by coincidence, just as we roll in, right here on the grounds of the stadium, they're having a ribbon cutting as we speak to you on Friday night. And I gotta admit, I mean, it's small. It's only about 30,000, but down here to my left, you can see their north end zone complex, and over here are some temporary bleachers that will upgrade capacity for Saturday night's game to about 32,000. So it's obviously not the biggest football arena that we've been to. We've been to places that are 3 times larger, but whole thing though is if there are 32,000 people here on Saturday night screaming for Texas State, then it could be a challenging environment for the Red Raiders.
Yeah, and certainly there's a lot of excitement here. This is the first year of Texas State, obviously, like you said, being an FBS member. They got off to a great start last week, beating Houston 30-13, and there's been a lot of excitement. We talked to the mayor of San Marcos, Daniel Guerrero, earlier. He said this is the biggest sporting event the town has ever seen, so there's a lot of excitement. Now, Don, getting right into the game, obviously defense has been a talking point since we started, and the Red Raiders started off very solid, gave up a school record low, 84 yards of total offense, only 13 rushes on 28 carries. What were your thoughts of the defense last week?
The things that jumped out to me most were that before the snap, the Red Raiders seemed much less confused and rushed and hurried compared to how they looked in a lot of instances last year. And then after the snap, when the ball was in play, you saw a whole bunch of guys run into the football and not giving up any big plays. One of the keys to that was the play of the safeties, I thought. But Cody Davis getting credit for 9 tackles in that game. DJ Johnson made 2 plays behind the line of scrimmage. Tommy Tuberville on Monday said that this was the best game that he had seen Cody Davis play in his career. And I sat down earlier this week and visited with Cody about what's different between last season and this season.
You know, Coach Kaufman coming in here, probably said it before, but you know, just him coming in and just setting the standards high and then letting us play. So I think, you know, you've seen the excitement out on the field now from game 1. It's a different atmosphere for the defense and a different feel. So we really rallied around him and just went out there and played our best. It doesn't matter who you're facing. We're going to try and come out and play our best game every game. So, I mean, it's a big confidence booster to come out and have a great first game for the defense. But we do know that it's game 1 and we still have a long way to go. So we're going to get better and keep moving along.
Sometimes folks feel like maybe you might not be the fastest safety in the world, but yeah, it seems like you do show a lot of range. Are you a little bit, you feel like you're underrated, maybe underappreciated in that aspect of the game?
I think so, but you know, I just try and come out of my breaks fast, and I think I'm pretty quick. So I actually had one of our players actually told me I'm the slowest, fastest white guy he's ever seen. So I don't know what that exactly means, but
the fastest slow white guy.
I think he's just saying that on game day I'm a step ahead, you know, of what I am. Say time in a 40. So I think I have good game speed, and hopefully that shows on the field.
Welcome back to San Marcos. Zach Long with the Avalanche-Journal. Thanks to Don Williams for that interview with Cody Davis. Right now it's time for our 3 things / people to watch, and Nick and Don sat down earlier in the AJ studios to give you some things to watch for in Saturday's game.
Now we're going to take a look at the 3 people or 3 things that we're going to look for in the game as well. And Don, you have one to start off with.
I think one of the big storylines in this game, of course, is going to be atmosphere down at Bobcat Stadium. This is a program, of course, that is moving up and talking about Texas State. Western Athletic Conference. Next year they'll be going into the Sun Belt Conference. They're making that transition up to the football bowl subdivision, aka Division I. Last week they knock off their first Division I opponent, beating Houston 30-13. So there's a lot of excitement in San Marcos. The stadium is bigger. They're expecting 30,000 people there. I've seen Texas Tech handle this kind of two different ways. I remember an SMU game a few years ago where they go into the stadium, seating 32,000 people, have no trouble knocking off SMU. And then I remember in 2009, Texas Tech goes down to Houston, Robertson Stadium, another similar sized venue. The Cougars have Akeem Olajuwon on the sideline. They're all fired up, and they beat Texas Tech that night. So how Texas Tech comes out and kind of manages this atmosphere where everybody's all fired up, all the home crowd's all fired up, I think will be interesting to watch.
I agree, that will be an interesting topic. Another thing is to see how Texas Tech's 3 returning wide receivers who didn't play in the opener last week are going to do. You got Darren Moore, Javon Bell, and Tyson Williams all coming back from injury, and all those are guys who kind of did different things for Tech during fall camp, have the ability to do different things during a game. And obviously Darren Moore was a guy, Don, who had 221 yards receiving in that game, so he was a huge offensive weapon against Texas State in the opener last season. Javon Bell, we've talked about it a lot. The deep threat that he provides could be a big key for the Red Raiders to make some of those big plays we were talking about earlier. And then, of course, Tyson Williams has been lauded by Neil Brown and the rest of the coaching staff for his physicality, ability to move the chains. So seeing how all 3 of those guys contribute to an offense that already had 13 different guys catching passes last week is going to be interesting to see how they fit in.
For the defense, one of the interesting things to watch is going to be how will they contain, of course, Texas State's rushing game. And you're talking about 2 individuals there, Sean Rutherford, the quarterback, and Marcus Curry, the running back. In this game last year, since Texas State had a new staff, Tech's coaches did not know what they were going to get. They didn't know what to prepare for. And they said after that game last year that they had no idea that Texas State was going to come out running this option offense that they did. Now, a year later, I think Tech knows exactly what to expect. They know what kind of offense they're going to see. They know who the key personnel are. And, of course, this game last year, again, that option gave Tech a lot of trouble. Last Saturday night, Marcus Curry, the running back, had 3 touchdowns in that 30-13 win over Houston. So doing a better job of playing their assignments, containing those 2 guys will be a key to the Red Raiders, not only getting out of San Marcos with a victory, but getting out of San Marcos maybe without being pushed and challenged too hard, too much.
There's no doubt that part of the college football experience when you're on the road is trying new places to eat. And us here at RedRaiders.com did that exact thing today. On our way to San Marcos, we stopped at a great little chicken place in Sweetwater, Texas, Allen's Family Style Restaurant. Don and Zach have more.
All right, welcome in everyone to hopefully the first of many food features we're going to do for you here, and we're going to try to feature some places that maybe you can visit while you're traveling to watch the Red Raiders play football this season. And we're going to start with a good one here. We're in Sweetwater, Texas, outside Allen's Family Style Meals and Fried Chicken, and very interesting experience. And I think I'm just going to go to an expert to get all the definitions done here. So I'm going to welcome in right now the patron saint of all things fried and smothered in gravy, the man, the myth, the legend, Don Williams. So tell me, what kind of thing are we going to face in here at the old chicken place?
It's kind of different from most places I've been to. I introduced you guys to this place last year. Y'all were not aware of it. I had heard the legend. And we walked in last year and they put out 16, I count them, there were 16 bowls of home-style cooking with more entrees, and now you guys like the vegetables. I was trying to choose between fried chicken, barbecue, chicken fried steak.
That's what we expect of you.
I can't even remember exactly.
Another good point, Tech goes to TCU this year and Arlington to face Baylor, so you can come through Sweetwater and see this restaurant. And I think we're about ready to grab Nick Kosmider and roll in here and see what kind of damage we can do. You ready?
Sounds good. Nick's 6'6", so he has a lot of room to put it on.
Nick's going to carry the team today, so let's get in there and get after it. As you can see, they're not playing around in here. They just laid down multiple plates full of food, and we've got a vicious battle ahead of us. This one's gonna hurt. These two guys are already getting going though, so. As you can see, I'm working on some veggies here because there's several plates of veggies on this table, and you have to work through everything, and the rest of us have to put in extra work on the veggies because Don is a verifiable meatosaurus.
Smells mighty fine, smells mighty fine. Of course, after just devouring a meal of fried chicken, green beans, mashed potatoes, and all the home-style goodness that you could ever think of, what better way to finish it off than some cobbler? And this is some of the best that you're ever going to try, Texas or anywhere else. I give it my Nick Kosmider stamp of approval.
I would just like to apologize to the family of chickens that I just ate. No hard feelings. Well, that hurt real bad. Don, how did the rookie in the group do over here on his first chicken performance?
I'm not sure that he quite measured up to us, but he gave it a good battle.
That was some of the best fried chicken that I've ever had. That's a simple enough endorsement. I guess I'll leave it at that.
All right, well, that's our first food feature of the year. We'll be right back after this message.
When you're sick, you don't want to wait in a doctor's office. Skip the waiting room with waitfromhome.com. Brought to you by UMC Physician Network Services. Check into the clinic online or on your phone, and we'll call or text when your doctor's ready. Your comfort is important. Waitfromhome.com.
When we pulled up to Bobcat Stadium earlier this evening, we saw the Texas Tech equipment truck. Earlier this week, RedRaiders.com got a behind-the-scenes look of how the equipment team loads that truck, as well as many other facets of traveling a team and what goes into getting a team ready to hit the road. For most college football fans, the game day experience begins and ends with the play clock. But for those getting teams ready to play on Saturdays, the process begins long before opening kickoff. Texas Tech equipment manager Zane Perry is one of the key figures involved in getting the Texas Tech football team out on the road each week.
Started as a student in '99 and was promoted to head equipment manager in 2007. We generally start on Monday for the road games, and just every day we select our trunks to work on, and each day we finish up our trunks and mark on the trunk once it's done, and load it up on Thursday once the truck arrives. Everything from mouthpieces to helmets, shoulder pads, socks, jocks, all the trainers' equipment, video equipment, nutrition equipment, and everything. We got power bars and everything in between.
Of course, loading up trucks isn't the only part of traveling a football team. Traveling an entourage of 130 people requires plenty of prior planning. Tasked with that challenge is Director of Operations Tommy McVeigh.
You know, I'm starting my 16th year.
Okay.
My first 3 years with Spike, I was his recruiting coordinator. And then when Mike came in, I took over the operation job, and Tommy was kind enough to hire me again as the operation guy.
McVeigh's days during a road trip week include plenty of emails and phone calls, but there is one responsibility he has that Tech players have a keen eye on. How much food is ordered on a typical trip?
A ton. You would be amazed at the amount of food that they eat. You know, it's just, and you have to give them a variety of food, and you know, your nutritionists, the weight guys have a say in that. Your trainers have a say in it. So I just kind of take for what they say, and then approved by the head coach, and we go from there. But it is a ton of food that they have that they eat. Right. We're very fortunate that we can do that, but those kids will eat a lot.
How's it going down?
We have 3 full-time staff members, including myself, and about 12 student managers that will help load it, and all the trainers help load up all their equipment as well.
For all the work that goes into preparing for the road, Perry says he only wants one thing in return.
Just make sure we win. Just win and no problems for equipment, and make sure all my students work hard and make sure they're happy.
Welcome back to Bobcat Stadium, and I can tell you I do feel a tad better after the chicken destruction earlier this afternoon. Right now it's time for our 3 keys to the game. Nick Kosmider, Don Williams going to break down the 3 things you need to know about tonight's football game between the Texas Tech Red Raiders and the Texas State Bobcats.
All right, we're talking 3 keys to the game. Don, what's the first one you got?
I think the one of the big important things for Texas Tech will be to get off to a good start, especially considering this game last year, as has been pretty well documented. The Red Raiders actually trailed Texas State 10-9 at halftime in Jones Stadium. So it'll be even more important to get off to a good start this week on the road.
Another key for the Red Raiders will be the turnover battle, one of the only facets of the game they lost against Northwestern State last weekend. Tech turned the ball over twice. Northwestern State had no turnovers. And Tommy Tuberville has talked since the offseason about the Red Raiders really needing to be more active in forcing turnovers, getting the offense the ball back in better field position. Last year, when Tech had that strong second half against against Texas State, they finally started turning the ball over in the second half, forcing some fumbles that led to some easy scores. So that's going to be another key once again.
As important, obviously, as the defense causing some big plays, I think will be the offense as well, making some big plays. Tech was very productive last week, and it was kind of interesting. They had 500 yards, but one of the things that was mentioned as a way that they could get better was they could actually hit some 30 and 40-yard plays. Last week, the biggest play that Texas Tech had was, I want to say, 23 yards. So they moved the chains. They had a steady rushing game, consistent passing game, but I think they would like to get 500-plus yards and mix in a 40, 50-yard strike here and there.
Welcome back, everyone, to San Marcos. It's now time for predictions and prognostications. We're going to start with some Big 12 games of interest, and Nick, I'll start with you. How about Arizona and Oklahoma State?
Yeah, this game is all about revenge. Arizona has a bitter taste in its mouth after losing to Oklahoma State at the end of the 2010 season in a bowl game, and then again were embarrassed in Stillwater last year. Now they get Oklahoma State on its home field, Arizona Stadium, under new coach Rich Rodriguez. The Wildcats have said all week this game is personal. But that's not going to matter. Oklahoma State, that offense we saw last week, obviously was only Savannah State, but even with Wes Lunt taking over for Brandon Whedon and Justin Blackman gone, that offense still has a lot of weapons. They're going to have enough to get it done. I think it'll be close. Arizona with their crowd will keep it close, but I like Oklahoma State in that game.
I'm with Nick. Maybe Wes Lunt gets to play a full football game. Oklahoma State wins. How about you, Don Williams?
A couple of keys for me in this game are, one, Oklahoma State's been a really good road team the last 2 or 3 years. They've won 11 of the last 13 when they've left Stillwater. I think there will be some carryover there. And the other thing, as much as Arizona wants this game, Arizona has had the same problem last year that Texas Tech had, and that's a defense that constantly put it in a bad position. Wildcats defense last year ranked number 110 in the nation. That's only 4 spots better than Tech did. So I think Joseph Randall will have a big night, and that will take some of the heat and some of the pressure off Wes Lunt in his first road start.
Okay, I'm going to kick it right back to Don for another good game that was a fantastic game last season. How about Kansas State and Miami?
The funny thing about this one is I remember 1990, Tommy Tuberville was an assistant coach on a Miami staff that played in Lubbock, and Coach Tuberville once told the story of how when Miami was landing at the Lubbock airport, one of the guys on Miami's plane, one of the players looked out and said, "We landed on the moon." Now, the thing that is the same about that is I'm thinking there will be Miami players who, when they come into Manhattan, Kansas, are probably wondering if they're landing on the moon. The thing that's different is this Miami team is not as good as those Miami teams were. This was a real good game last year, but K-State and Manhattan with Colin Klein and that team's ability to win close games, I like the Wildcats in this one.
Nick, Wildcats, Hurricanes.
I like the Wildcats. The key for them is going to be to start off faster than they did against Missouri State. Obviously, they blew it out at the end, 151-9. But they're not going to be able to start slow and still survive a Miami squad that's got a great running back in Duke Johnson.
I agree with you guys. I think Kansas State, Colin Klein, veteran leadership, and Arthur Brown on the defense. Wildcats win that one in Manhattan. Now let's switch to a team Tech fans will be interested in next week, the New Mexico Lobos. They travel just up the road from this stadium right here to Austin, Texas. Nick, Longhorns, Lobos.
Longhorns, no doubt about it. New Mexico had a good showing. They put up a lot of points in their first game, but it's a completely different animal that they're going to be facing this week in Texas. Mac Brown likes the test. Last week against Wyoming, they faced these five wide receiver sets. Defense had a little bit of trouble, so they're going to be looking to shore it up a little bit more and attack that triple option that New Mexico runs.
Yeah, I agree. Back to earth for New Mexico, and running game from Texas, and maybe the young pup Jonathan Gray Don, what do you think? Gets a few more carries?
Yeah, this is a name your score game for the Longhorns. They probably, they obviously had to work out some kinks last week, but total mismatch here in terms of level of competition. I think this is a game that could rival last week's Oklahoma State, Savannah State game. I don't think the Longhorns will get to 84. Mac Brown's a nice guy. He probably doesn't want to do that, but he may be looking for somebody to play besides Bergeron and Malcolm Brown and Jonathan Gray. He may be pulling in some kid from, I don't know, pulling some kid out of the stands to carry the ball in the fourth quarter as this one gets out of hand.
All right, so there's 3 Big 12 games we're going to look at. Now it's time for, I know what these guys have been waiting for all day, Zach's outlandish prediction of the game. And last week I obviously was a little wrong on my 90 points. But, hey, this week I'm basing this one off history. I swear I did research, guys. I really swear. All right, we ready for this one? Here's what's going to happen tomorrow. Texas State's going to jump up to an early lead, and it's going to look a little dim for the Red Raiders, but I don't want the Texas Tech fans to get too worried because here's why. Last season this happened, and it's going to happen again. Just when you think all is done for the Red Raiders, from the western horizon comes a giant haboob. Just like last year, comes rolling into Bobcat Stadium, and as an amateur wildlife destruction expert, I can tell you Bobcats hate haboobs. That right there is going to turn the tide, guys. Red Raiders roll from that point on, thanks to the big ball of death, dirt, and destruction.
So you're a weatherman now.
You betcha. I am a jack of all trades, guys.
I've seen that one before.
Okay, so now let's get back to something actually serious and that could happen. How about some upsets of the week? And before we start, Nick, probably just need to pay homage to the man, the myth, the legend over here, Don Williams. Nick and I's picks were absolutely brutal.
Not close at all last week, except for Don. He nailed it. Ohio over Penn State. He called it. Frank Solich had those boys ready, and they got the job done. So we're gonna have to catch up. Don's 1-0. You and I are looking up right now.
That was not that actually was not that tough a game to pick. I didn't think because honestly, the disarray at Penn State and Ohio you had a team coming back off a 10-win season, a bowl game, a senior quarterback, a coach who's coached in big stadiums before. There was a lot of connect the dots there.
Okay, great and powerful Williams. Why don't you go ahead and kick it off and drop some more knowledge on us?
This week I kind of had to search long and hard before I came up with a game that I thought that I liked as my upset choice. It's an interesting week in college football this week because you have Stanford playing Duke, you have Vanderbilt playing Northwestern. So it's College Bowl.
Smart kids.
Rice is playing Kansas. I don't know how smart Kansas is, but anyhow. Northwestern is an underdog in this game by a field goal, but Northwestern is at home. They played a 42-41 game last week, beat Syracuse. Vanderbilt, on the other hand, played a 17-13 game at South Carolina. Now, granted, South Carolina is a really strong defensive team, but I worry if you're a Vanderbilt fan, I worry that you'll be able to score enough points to keep up with Northwestern, particularly playing in Evanston. And a couple of years ago into the 2010 season, we saw Texas Tech against Northwestern, and a couple of the talented young guys on Northwestern's team that year with a quarterback Kane Coulter and a receiver, running back, skill position player named Venrick Mark, who's actually a Texas kid from Houston. Both of those guys are grown up playing bigger roles now. Again, I kind of think Northwestern's offense and Vanderbilt hasn't really shown it has the potential, has the ability to score yet. I like Northwestern to overcome that 3-point underdog pick.
All right, there it is, and my road to retribution after completely blowing SMU Baylor last week. I'm going to go to a tough one. We're going to go to the SEC. How about the new pups? I got Missouri over Georgia in Columbia. That is a nightmare of a place to play. I've seen that with several teams. I think Georgia's coming in a little bit inflated, a little bit overrated. I think Missouri's going to use an SEC-style running attack. They got some good running backs. James Franklin's going to get it done there. I like Missouri over Georgia in the SEC. Nick, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to keep it direct. I think East Carolina over South Carolina, always a pretty decent rivalry. And South Carolina, is going to be perhaps without Connor Shaw, their quarterback. He's uncertain as of right now, Friday night, whether he's going to go. You had Rio Johnson for East Carolina, who threw for 242 yards last week. He's a weapon that's going to, as good as that defense is, maybe he's a guy that's pretty athletic, can make some things happen. And I just didn't think South Carolina looked very strong against Vanderbilt last week. A lot of mistakes were made, 2 turnovers early in the game. So they're going to have to shore those up. I think East Carolina has a chance to win that one.
I actually saw a little flinch out of Don over here when Nick picked that game. Are you that frightened of that one?
South Carolina's tough. I mean, they got the athletes. I would like to see that happen for Ruffin McNeil, a good guy who used to coach here at Texas Tech.
All right, guys, well, there's a look around the country. Now let's get down to the one right here behind us. Tonight, 6 p.m., Texas Tech, Texas State. We're going to throw down a little predictions on that one. I'm going to start with Nick Kosmider.
Yeah, I think Tech's offense is going to be too much. You get 3 wide receivers back in Darren Moore, Javon Bell, and Tyson Williams for an offense that already had 13 different guys catch a pass last week. There's just too many weapons for Texas Tech to be able to handle. Last year, their smaller cornerbacks had trouble with the big receivers. I don't see that changing this week. I got 38-17 Tech.
Don Williams.
We did not consult each other on our choices, but I had said 37-16. And here's how we get there. Let's see, 4 touchdowns for the Red Raiders and 3 field goals, and 1 touchdown for Texas State and 3 field goals. Both teams debuted kickers last week, and both guys made 3 field goals. So Texas Tech, I agree with you, Nick. I think particularly if Darren Moore gets a lot of action in this game, we all saw last year Bobcats corners just could not handle him. He had 12 catches, 221 yards. A touchdown, but the Red Raiders, one of the things that Neil Brown wants to do is get more big plays and show that they can score in the red zone, which he would rather have field goals than Ryan Buston, he would rather have touchdowns than Ryan Buston out there 3 times Saturday night.
Okay, I was going to go with a little bit lower score, but the more I thought about it and the point you just made, Darren Moore plus Javon Bell back, Tyson Williams, it's like Seth Daggy has a whole new box of toys to play with, and because of that, I'm going to go a little bit higher score. I got Texas Tech 55-21 over Texas State. I think the offense erupts tomorrow, shows what it's capable of, and the defense still shows a solid game, maybe only gives up 21 points.
All right, thanks, Zach. That's going to do it for us on the UMC Health System Avalanche-Journal pregame show live from Bobcat Stadium. We'll see you tomorrow, and be sure to keep it locked in to RedRaiders.com, Lubbock Online, for all your stories, photos, videos, updates, and much more. For Don Williams and Zach Long, I'm Nick Kosmider. Have a great day.